So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great, good.
That was kind of weak. How's everybody doing tonight? That's much better. I believe that I've met you all personally, and just in case I haven't, my name is Andre Simino. I'm an executive vice president with this company here, Five Rings Financial. And Five Rings Financial is a company a lot like a Merrill Lynch, or an A.G. Edwards, or a Charles Schwab. Only where those guys focus on millionaires, we focus on middle-income Americans. Is anybody already a millionaire? Would anybody like to be a millionaire? Awesome. There's two reasons that we ask that question. Number one is if you want to be a millionaire, you have to at least think it first. And number two is we only give free food to people with arms. So that was a test. The number one reason that people end up at our class is somebody attended our class previously, they liked what they learned, and so they shared it with you. And they invited you to come and learn what we teach. There's two groups of people that come to our class, and the first group is somebody who's never saved any money all of their life. And it's not just the 20-year-olds. You know, the average person in America today is 53 years old before they start saving for retirement. And if you think about it, we go to school, we meet our spouse, we get out of school, we send our kids off to school, and we go, oops, I forgot to save for retirement. And that group of people, they come to our class because they want to learn principles of saving money. The second group that comes to our class is a group of people that have been saving. They've got an IRA or a 401k, and that thing called the stock market has been like a roller coaster. And we might have liked roller coasters as kids, but today it's a little bit too steep. It's a little bit too curvy, and people want to get off that roller coaster, but maybe didn't know they could. That group comes to our class because they want to learn how to protect the money that they already have. So just a quick show of hands, who wants to learn principles of saving money? Awesome. How about protect the money you already have? Excellent. How about pay less in taxes? It's officially April, you're allowed to do two hands now. Tax time. How about who's not going to raise any hands no matter how many questions I ask? Oh, good. How about, Andre, I heard there was free food and that's all I'm here for. Hurry up. I want to. Excellent. We love you too. We're glad you're here. There's two things that I want you to notice that are different about our class. And the number one is nobody has any sticky name tags. We didn't ask you for your name or your phone number. You didn't have to give us your social security or your next of kin to get in the class so that we could call you and hound you until you have to join the witness protection program and move out of state. Where did you move here from? Ohio. See, he moved here from Ohio. Just kidding. The second thing that I want you to notice that's different is that there's nothing for sale tonight. As a matter of fact, if you left your purse or your wallet in your car, thank you. We have a guy going through your car right now. That's how we pay for the class. Have I been vice presidential enough? May I kick off my coat? Yes. Thank you. And the time? How about? All right. The number one reason that people come to our class is they want to know about retirement. What happened, what could happen. And when someone comes to the class and at the end they raise their hand and they say, I have a couple of questions, we get to talk to you about the retirement savings teeter-totter. And on this teeter-totter there's two sides. There's the risk side of the teeter-totter, which are things like mutual funds, gold, stocks, and who knew but real estate would make it onto the risk side in 2008. Did you know that half of the people in America lost half of the value in their house in 2008? And it wasn't until 2015 and 16 that people got back to even in the real estate. Well, then there's the safe side of the teeter-totter. And that is things like CDs, money market accounts, maybe a little bit of money under the mattress. And I say mattress to be funny, but it was just a few years ago. I'm sitting with a client, I'm at her kitchen table, and I'm telling her about this guy that buries money in the backyard. And as I'm telling her the story, her brother walks by the kitchen, he hears me, he leans in, he goes, did you tell him? And I was like, oh, I am just kidding, I'm making a joke. Well, here's what he said. He says, I have $100,000 buried in the backyard. He lives at 3470 Main Street in Westminster, Colorado. Here's what happened. If you go back to the 80s and you look at the stock market, it just went up and up and up and up. And by the year 2000, we all made a lot of money in the stock market. And some of us maybe got a little bit too excited. We put a little bit too much into the stock market. And then in 2001, we had our first opportunity to lose half of our money, half of our savings. And we went to our clients and said, you might want to take your money and move some out of risk and put it into safe. And in 2001, what everybody said to us is, this will never happen again. Everybody said it was a fluke. And sure enough, by the year 2007, the stock market did get right back to even. And isn't that an interesting investment philosophy? If someone showed up at your house today and said, look, if you give me all of your money today, I guarantee you that 7 years from now I'll get you back to even, would anybody else laugh at them? I'd say, no, that's the door. That's not an investment philosophy. Yet in 2007, when people got back to even, there was dancing in the streets. People were so excited just to get back to even. And then 2008 happened. 2008 was our second opportunity to lose half. Some people lost up to 54% of their savings of their retirement. My dad, this was my dad's year to retire in 2008, and when my dad lost half of his retirement, he did what 71% of Americans did, is he moved all of his money out of risks and he put it into safe. And at the end of 2008, what my dad said was this: I really like working. Said no one ever. But because my dad had lost half of his savings, half of his retirement, my dad couldn't afford to retire. People started asking this question. In 2008, they said, when is this going to happen again? Does anybody else know that it's the year 2017 and that the stock market is yet another all-time high? Right, this is the first one. Second one, here we are, it's 2017, the stock market's at an all-time high again. And people said, when is this going to happen again? I can't tell you when, I'm not Nostradamus, but here's what I do know. From 2009 to about 2011, when we were meeting with people, they did this. Whew, I just didn't lose any more money. And then from 2012 to about 2015, people said, wait a minute, I'm frustrated that I'm not making any money on my money. Does anybody know what the average CD in America pays today? Not much. 0.0. You guys are all just about right. Today, the average CD in America is 0.5%. Does anybody know what the average money market account is? 0.01. That's right. 0.01. And how about money under the mattress? Zero. My 16-year-old was in a workshop 2 years ago, and she cutely said, "Dust, Dad, dust." I said, "That's funny, Michaela." Well, people were frustrated that they weren't making any money on their money. And then from 2012 to 2016, people said, wait a minute, I'm scared to go back into the stock market. They said what my dad did. I can never afford to lose another penny. So on one side, people were frustrated they weren't making any money on their money. And then on the other side, they were scared to go back into the stock market. And so we started asking this question. In 2008, we said, if I could wave the magic wand and you could pick anywhere on this teeter-totter to be, where would you like to be? What just about everybody has said to us is, I want to be in the middle. And here's what they mean by that. When the stock market goes up, they want to go up with the market, right? Don't we all want our money to grow? Sure. Right? Wouldn't we love to go up with the stock market? Here's the problem. For the opportunity of the stock market to go up, we have equal opportunity for it to go down. So people said, I want to go up when the market goes up, but if the market goes down again, I want the 0% safety of the safe side. And then everybody chuckled. They said, that doesn't exist. It can't go up and then I get 0 when the market goes down. Well, I've been learning French, and I've learned 2 words in French, and they are au contraire. It does exist. This exists as something called an indexed account. When I first got started, I told you there were 2 groups of people that come to our workshop. What I'd like to do is take a quick step back, and I want to teach you the 3 principles that we all need to know about saving money. And I'm going to rewind 33 years to a guy by the name of Mike, and Mike gets this postcard in the mail. And this postcard invites Mike to a class, a workshop just like tonight. And Mike gets this postcard and he kind of chuckles and he goes, why am I getting this? Because Mike was 26. He was $30,000 in debt. He was living paycheck to paycheck. He had 3 kids. But he had been looking for hope. And he figured some guy in the mailroom put the wrong sticker on the wrong envelope, so he was going to go. Let's go see what the wealthy talk about. So Mike goes to this class 33 years ago. He loves the information. As the class is wrapping up, Mike sat in the back. He tried to sneak out the back door. And Jim, the speaker, leaves fire in the carpet. He meets Mike at the back and he says, Mike, I think we could help you. And Mike said, Jim, there's no way. I'm $30,000 in debt. Do you all understand that $30,000 in debt 30 years ago is like $100,000 of debt today? Could you imagine being $100,000 of debt on a credit card at 18%? Jim said to Mike, Mike, if you give me an hour, I'll give you an hour. And so Mike figured, okay, I learned some good stuff at this class, I'll invite him over. So a week later, Jim is at Mike's house. And he says, Mike, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. He says, I teach people how to have something everybody wants to have. And Jim said, Mike, I teach people how to have a big pile of money for retirement. And he asked him this question. Jim said, Mike, could you save $5 a day? So I'm going to ask all of you, could you save $5 a day? It's kind of a knee-jerk response, right? $5 a day. I had a guy in California in San Diego a couple years ago. He raised his hand. He said, Andre, I already drink 4 cups of coffee a day. I could drink 1 less cup of coffee and there'd be my $5. And I said, yeah, and Starbucks should change their name to $5. I'm here till Saturday. Jim said, Mike, $5 a day over the next 40 years at a decent interest rate grows to $1 million. Mike got excited, and then he had the deer in the headlights look. And Jim said, Mike, what just happened? And Mike said, Jim, I might have $5 a day, but there's no way I have $150 a month. Why do you think he said $150 a month? 5 times 30, right? We think of our money in months. 30 days times 5. That's the difference between emotion and logic with our money. $150 a month. Jim says, Mike, no problem. We have a funnel program. And the way that our funnel program works is we take all of the financial pieces in your household and we refinance them. Kind of like refinancing a mortgage. Anybody ever refinanced a mortgage? It lowered your interest rate. It's supposed to lower your payment. Well, that night, Jim refinanced Mike's finances, his insurances, his IRA, his 401k. We had a client with a mortgage, we saved her $800 a month. Well, that night when Jim refinanced Mike's finances, Jim found for Mike $200 a month of savings that Mike didn't even know he had. That $200 into this same equation grows to $1.5 million. That night when Jim left, Mike had a $1.5 million savings and investment plan in place. Jim noticed that Mike got kind of excited and he invited him. He said, Mike, would you be interested in coming to work with our company? Maybe on a part-time basis over the next 6 or 12 or 18 months, I can teach you how to invite people. I can teach you to do what I do. And Mike thought, I'll do this for a few months, I'll make a few $100, and then I'll get a real job. Well, here's what Mike discovered. He really liked teaching people how to refinance their finances so they could win the money game. 18 months later, Mike had paid off that $30,000 of debt and quit his job because he was making more money teaching people about their money than he did working at his job. That's how our company, 5 Rings Financial, was born 33 years ago. Secretly, too, Mike had seen Zig Ziglar speak on stage and said, I want to be the guy that speaks on stage. He just forgot to write down all the details about how he wants to speak on stage. And he'll tell you that now, 33 years later. I do speak on stage like 25 times a month. Just didn't think it would be like this. Who wishes that I showed up at your high school graduation and showed you that $5 a day would grow to $1 million? Here's the crazier question. Who would have had the discipline to do it? 2? 3, nice. I usually get 1 or 2 in a group this size. So our business system is 3 parts. The 3 things I'm going to teach you are time value of money, $5 a day. The second one is compound interest. And the third one is growing money in tax-favored strategies. Has everybody heard of a guy named Albert Einstein with the crazy hair? That was good. Well, Albert, when he discovered something called compound interest, we've all heard of compound interest. The last time I'd heard of it, Grandma took me down to the bank, we put 10 bucks in, I got a passbook savings account. She said, look, your money interest is going to grow in year 10, at the end of the year that interest is going to become new principal, and then that's going to grow interest next year. It's the rule, it's compound interest. Well, when Albert Einstein discovers compound interest, he calls it the 8th wonder of the world. And he discovers that there's an equation for compound interest. And it's this simple. It's called the rule of 72. Let's say that you're earning 1% on your money. Take 1 and divide it into the number 72. So 1 divided into 72 is what?
72.
Hey. Awesome. I had to do multiple choice in Boulder, Colorado last week. That's right, 72. That means if you're earning 1% on your money, it takes 72 years for your money to double. Some free advice. Stay away from 1% if you can. Well, Albert Einstein's estate today, did you know, still earns $10 million a year because of compound interest? This is what they say. People who understand compound interest earn it, and people who don't pay it. Yes, you guys are going to leave tonight understanding compound interest. There's these 3 sisters. They're each 29 years old. I left my clicker. There's these 3 sisters. They're each 29 years old. Their uncle passes away. He leaves them each $5,000. And he gives them all 2 rules. He says, number 1, you got to lump sum the money into an account. And number 2, you can't touch it until you're 65. First sister goes down to the bank. I'm going to be very generous to the banker and say that he can get her 4%. 4 divided into the number 72 is every 18 years that her money doubles. So she's got $5,000. She's 29. 18 plus, already up there, 29 is 47. Her 5,000 automatically doubles to 10,000. And then 18 years later again, her 10,000 doubles to 20,000. This is the magic of compound interest. No more money in, no more money out. Second sister, she comes to our workshop. She finds out you can still average 8% on your money. The first time they wrote up 8 up there, I was in the back, I yelled out, 40,000! They invited me and said, hey, it's going to be interactive. So I wanted to be the first guy in the room with the right answer. Well, 8 goes into 72 every 9 years. So 29 plus 9, 38 is 10, 47 is 20. She doubles her sister at 20, but she gets 2 more doublings. So at 56, it's 40, and at 65, it's $80,000. Big difference or a little difference? If you went to work tomorrow, and your boss called you in the office and said, you've done such a great job this past year, would you like a $20,000 a year raise or an $80,000 a year raise? Does that feel a little bigger? Right. I'll also tell you that being the first guy in the room with the wrong answer was embarrassing. Third sister says, I've seen 12% in the past. It'll happen in the future. I know it's not year over year, but I'm curious. What would 12% do? Well, 12 goes into 72 every 6 years. So her 29 plus 6, 35 is 10, 41 is 20, 47 is 40, and at 53, it's 80,000. So she matches her sister, but she gets 2 more doublings. At 59, it's 160. At 65, it's $320,000. Big difference or a little difference?
Big.
Huge, right? And here's what I saw the first time. We didn't go from 40 all the way over there to 40% or 50%. We made small interest rate differences over a long period of time. Sometimes people come to our class and they ask us, what difference does 2 or 3 or 4% on my money make? It makes a huge difference. Did you know that places like Sears and Home Depot make more money on us on the interest than they do selling us the refrigerator? If I could contractually guarantee... Say that again?
I said not Sears.
Not Sears, right? If I could contractually guarantee everybody in the room 18% on their money, in writing, when anybody wants some 18%, all right, I just have one taker. 18%, so 18 means it's going to double every 4 years. Let's do the same $5,000. This is going to grow to $2.45 million. Now I know none of you would do any of this, right? None of you would have any of this, but you might know some people that do. Us guys, it tends to be in our wallet, and it's called a credit card. Did you know that compound interest works against us, just like it works for us? I had a young lady in California come up to me at the end and she hugged me. She goes, "You saved me." I said, "Why?" I mean, thank you, but why? She goes, "I have this credit card. I missed a few payments, my interest rate's up high, my balance grows every single month." She said, "Could you help me pay it off?" I said, "Sure, do you have your credit card?" So she handed me her 4 credit cards. And I said, "Does anybody have any scissors?" No, seriously, there is a place for credit. And what you want to do is take your credit card, put it in a plastic bowl of water, and stick it in the freezer. Because when it's frozen in the block of ice, do you know how hard it is to swipe it? It won't go in the machine. I've tried. And you can't even scan it. It doesn't work. But if you really needed it, you could break that ice and you could get the credit card. Sometimes when we refinance people's finances, when we find this extra dollars over here, the first thing we teach people to do is pay off this debt situation. If you have a debt situation, 18%, you're not going to beat it, no matter how good we grow your money. So the first 2 things you need to know is time value of money, $5 a day. The second one that we need to know is compound interest. And the third one is tax-favored strategies. When we talk to the wealthy, the number one reason that the wealthy keep getting wealthy is they grow as much money as possible in non-taxable accounts. So let's compare growing money in a non-taxable account versus growing money in a taxable account. And I'm going to go to 2 groups of people. First, I'm going to go to Mr. and Mrs. Wealthy American, and I'm going to make them this deal. If you give me $1 today, I guarantee to double your money every year for the next 20 years. So they give me $1. They're going to grow their money in a non-taxable account, and I'm going to double it to 2, second year. And then the third year, I'm going to double it to 4, and the next year, I'm going to double it to 8. So if I do their money out for the next 20 years, this is going to grow to $1,048,000. 2 problems with this account. Number 1, there's nothing on the planet that doubles your money, except Las Vegas. But there's a really big risk that's part of that, and I've heard you get free drinks. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. Here's the part I want also you to notice. Is we didn't take any tax out of the money. Did you notice that when 1 doubled to 2, and 2 doubled to 4, and 4 doubled to 8, grows to $1,048,000, no tax. Now let's go to Mr. and Mrs. Middle American. Let's make them the exact same deal. They're going to probably end up at a bank, probably going to buy a CD. When their 1 doubles to 2, they have $1 of earnings. Did you know that Uncle Sam sends you a 1099 at the end of the year and says, "Hey, where's my tax?" Right? He's not your favorite uncle. Well, let's tax that $1 at 28%, which means when the 1 doubles to 2 and you have $1 of gains, you got to pay 28 cents. So you don't really get 2, you end up with $1.72. Does that math make sense to everybody? Excellent. But we're going to double their money. So $1.72 doubles to $3.44, tax down $3.44, it becomes $2.96. Going to double their money to $5.92, $5.92, taxes down to $5.09. If we double in tax, the same account for the same 20 years, if you've seen this before, don't yell out the answer. If this one's $1,048,000 with no taxes, what's this account with taxes. It is less. Everybody think of a number in their head. Whoever gets closest tonight gets free dinner. Our most popular guess every night is $250,000. Our second most popular guess is $700,000. About 800. Any other guesses?
540.
540, I like it, does have a 5 in it. Here's the first thing I want to point out. We're all programmed to think we had to pay tax on all that growth. You ready for the real answer? Good, drum roll. $51,353. That is just $1 million of difference. Knowing whether you're growing your money in a non-taxable account versus a taxable account. This is the most powerful thing we teach every single day, is to grow as much money as possible in a non-taxable account versus a taxable. It's the number one reason the wealthy keep getting wealthy. Would anybody be willing to admit to me that you were thinking, okay, so you grew the $1,048,000, but now I got to pay tax on it? Would anybody? Awesome, thank you. So let's just say you did. And let's use 50% as the tax rate. Did you know that that's our highest tax rate in our country right now? 50%, it's actually not even quite. So let's say you had to pay 50% on $1,048,000, that's $524,000. That's still 10 times as much as $51,353. Here's a really fun thing to do. Go to work tomorrow. Take this example. Go by the office, go to the coffee room, or the coffee pot, or the bubbler. You know where the really smart person hangs out? The one that knows everything about everything? See? We have one. I mean, you're not one, but you know somebody. I was in New York doing this workshop, and the guy in the back corner is like, I'm that guy. It's pretty funny. And all of his friends that were sitting with him said, yeah, you are that guy. Take this example to that person, walk them through the numbers, $1,048,000, walk them through here, and then make them write this number down. And the secret is they have to write the $51,353 down. Because if they don't, when you tell them it's 51, it's like, oh yeah, I knew that. Of course it was 51,000. Of course I knew that. You know what? That guy, he lies about other things too. Okay. So the three things that we need to know about saving money is time value of money, $5 a day. Compound interest, that it works in our favor, but it can also work against us. And principle number 3 is grow as much money in a non-taxable account as you can. So now what I'd like to do is take a step forward. I'd like to talk to the group of people that want to protect the money that they have. When I first got started, I mentioned an account. It's called an index account. Does everybody know that really tall guy with the really big hands and the jaw? Tony Robbins? So Tony just wrote this book called Money, Master the Game. And it's really a 670-page, one-volume encyclopedia. It's huge. And he was interviewing some people, and he interviewed Warren Buffett. Him and Warren are sitting talking, and Warren says to Tony, Tony, indexed accounts are the retirement savings vehicle of the future. And he gave the best definition that we've heard to this date. An indexed account is defined as passively owning the stock market while protecting your money from the downside. Protecting your money from the downside while passively owning the stock market. So I'm going to walk you through how an indexed account works. When I'm done, you all will be experts in index accounts. You will know more than 93% of the population does. The way an indexed account works is, the first way is money comes into the account. Oftentimes it's a rollover, like an old 401k. Anybody ever left a job and moved their 401k either to the new 401k of the new company or to like a private IRA? Same thing, no penalty, no taxes. As a matter of fact, if you have an old 401k, some free advice, move it. You can move it for free into a private IRA, and here's why. We had a client a few years ago who worked at Circuit City. She told us she had $40,000 in her Circuit City 401k left, went to get a new job. And 3 years later, got a little letter in the mail when Circuit City went out of business, a check for $1,000, and a letter that said, consolation prize, this is what's left. Because her 401k money had been tied to Circuit City stock. And when Circuit City stock went out of business, so did her 401k. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes people say, Andre, that could never happen. Anybody heard of a little company called Enron? What happened there? So just some free advice, move your old 401k if you have it. The second way that money comes into an indexed account is cash. We had a gentleman who had $40,000 in coffee cans in his woodshed. And when we put his money in, his money smelled really good. Sometimes money comes into an indexed account on a monthly deposit because it protects from the downside. You can never lose money in an indexed account. So people like that, especially because we're at the top of the market. How do I protect my money? The very first thing that an indexed account does is it protects or guarantees every dollar that comes into the indexed account. It's contractually guaranteed in writing to never be able to lose a penny. The reason Warren Buffett says this is the retirement savings instrument of the future is because we have all lost half of our savings at least twice in the last 20 years. And what an indexed account does is it protects your money. Guarantee number one is you can never lose a penny in an indexed account. Having this protection is like having a 0% floor on your money. And then we had to credit interest to it. So it passively participates in the stock market. So it looks at the stock market, which goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. So let's do a quick example. Let's say that the very first year, the stock market goes up 8%. It comes over here, it looks at your money that sits on the sideline, and it credits 8% to your stock market. It credits 8% to your indexed account. So if this is your indexed account, it grows by 8%. If your money was in the market, it would also grow 8%. The next year, it resets itself, and let's say it goes down 8%. By the way, is that possible?
Yes.
Could it go down up 8% one year and down 8% the next? Or just in the month of February, right? Well, that year when it goes down, if you remember what I said earlier, the very first thing that an indexed account does is it protects your money from the downside. This money over here is sitting on the sideline. It's never in the stock market. It only looks to the stock market as a barometer to measure how much it grows. So that next year when the market goes down 8%, it hits the 0% floor. So that means in your indexed account, you get a 0. You don't lose any money. You don't lose what you gained. If your money was in the stock market, what would happen to your money? You'd lose some money. And then it resets itself. And sometimes people say this to me. They say, Andre, so I grew 8% that year, but then this year I got a 0. They say, really? You want to offer me 0? I have a question. If we rewound the clock to the year 2008, did anybody lose any money in 2008? If you had met us in 2007 and could have put your money in an indexed account, and in 2008 you got a 0, would anybody have liked that? Yeah, 0 would have been your hero, right? And that's what people say to us. 0 is my hero any year the market goes down. Well, if you've got a floor on something, that means you have a ceiling. My wife calls the ceiling, she calls this the not too good to be true line. So here's what makes it not too good to be true. Let's say the next year the stock market goes up and it goes up 16%. It hits the ceiling. That ceiling is 14%. So when it hits the ceiling, it comes over here, oh, we forgot the 0. It comes over here and it credits your account 14%. Would anybody be unhappy getting only 14 and not all 16? No. And what happens is that year, your market goes up, your indexed account goes up 14, where the stock market went up 16. What our clients say is this: I would happily give up some of that upside to never ever participate in the downside again. Does that make sense? That's the concept. Goes up when the market goes up, and when the market goes down, it gets a 0. This money sits over here on the sideline in a protected bucket and only looks to the stock market to figure out what to credit. So we had a gentleman who came to the class, shows up at the office the next day. He tells us, I had 140,000, I lost 40, I only have 100,000 left. Would you compare the stock market to the index account? Just a real world example. And we said, sure. So that next year in the stock market was a down year. So what happened in the index account?
0.
Exactly. And the next year in the stock market was an up year. What happened in the index account? Exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 years. And in that 5-year period, we're comparing 2000 to 2005. That's what he asked us to compare. In that 5-year period, both accounts started with 100,000. At the end of the 5-year period, the stock market account had 91,000 because it had lost and it was making up, and it had lost and it made up. The index account with that first year, then the 0, and then that year, and then the 0, and then that year, ended with $126,000. It was a $35,000 difference by doing one thing: not participating in the downside of the market. It's amazing when Warren Buffett starts talking about math. But he basically says if you never have to lose, you don't need as big of an up because you're never making up for loss. Well, that was a 5-year period, and he said this, well, I know that 06 was a good year, and I know 07 was a good year. And so he was right. What happened in the indexed account in 06? In 07? And then we politely remind him that this was 2008. What happened in 2008? Only minus 54. I have this whiteboard in Denver. It goes all the way to the floor. It's like it's do yoga while I do the class. My wife really likes that part. At the end of 2008, the stock market account had $86,000. In the the stock market account, yes. The indexed account had grown to 144. What happened in 2008? Well, everybody else was getting minus 54. Stayed, plateaued, got a 0. He called it an indexed escalator that only goes up. That's exactly right. An indexed account, he still had all $144,000 of his money in the account. This is the best recommendation we can make for at least that part of your money that you don't ever want to lose again. For my dad, I never want to lose my money again. That was 2008. Does anybody realize that 2017 looks similar to this? Here's a question, something to sleep on. Does anybody, I don't know what's going to happen in the market, and I know none of you probably do either, but if the market lost a little bit next year, or 2 years, or 3 years, would you rather your money to be in this kind of an account, or this kind of an account? You'd rather it be in an index, right? To protect. Warren Buffett's 2 rules of investing is 1, never lose a penny of principal. And rule number 2 is, if you're ever wondering, refer back to rule number 1. Right? And what does Warren Buffett teach us? What does he say? He says, buy and sell high. Right. So when Warren Buffett, the reason he said an indexed account was the retirement savings of the future is because Warren Buffett knows that most of us, we don't get on our computer every night and figure out, should I sell today? Should I not? Should I sell? Should I not? And no offense to stockbrokers. Do I have any stockbrokers in the room? Okay. I just don't want to upset anybody. The number 1 reason that indexed accounts are not talked about by Edward Jones or TIAA Craft or Fidelity is an index account is a no-fee based account. That means there's no fee charged, no management fee garnered, no transaction fee, so that company does not benefit from selling an indexed account. We at 5 Rings Financial, we are what you call a no-fee based company. We never charge a fee to work with our clients. Instead, this group of companies that builds indexed accounts, they pay us out of their operating budget once, instead of the stock brokerage group that charges you 1 or 2 or 3% every year, over year, over year. And we're not anti-stock market. We're just pro-safe. We call it SWAN insurance. Sleep well at night. Number one reason, now you guys are going to leave here tonight and you now know more about an indexed account than 93% of the population. Oftentimes an indexed account might be known as a fixed indexed annuity or a fixed indexed account because it guarantees that you can never lose a penny. And not the old ones that our grandparents owned, but the new ones, the 2015, 16, 17 ones. Let me walk you through the 3 steps of money, and we'll have Jonathan deliver some food. That top point, one of the most interesting things that we saw in 2008 was this. While we would do annual reviews with our clients every year, and we'd check in, so how do we do? Some of them would say, I got a 0 this year. Never seen so many people excited about 0 in our life. Or we made a little bit of money this year. But here's what they did. They said, hey, are you doing another class? We said, yeah, and they'd invite their friends to the class. The number one way people that end up at our class is somebody who'd been here before, invited you to come check it out. 2.5 years ago, we started teaching this class not just live in person, but we started teaching it as a video, a webinar class. So once a week, you can come and attend from behind your computer, have a margarita or a beer in your living room, invite your spouse, your best friend. I keep getting parents who invite all the kids and their parents into their house, and we show up either by Zoom or we come and just show up in their living room. It's kind of fun to teach a class that way. Small companies, big companies, HR departments. We started teaching the class over and over like that. It's the number one way. The most interesting thing we saw was that in 2008, people bought us the $25 Hallmark card. The really big one, the one you can't mail. They put cupcakes and brownies in it. And they brought it to us in our National Training Support Center in Littleton, Colorado. People were so excited not to lose money in 2008. Let me wrap us up. I hear some stomachs. There are 3 stages of money. Stage 1 of money is called protection. Protection is your IRA, it's your 401k, it's your savings. Guaranteeing that you'll never lose another penny of money in that protection stage. 95% of our clients, they never leave this protection stage. This is knowing using an indexed account for your 401k, IRA, or CD, and knowing that you're never going to lose another penny of that money forever. Stage 2 is risk. There we go. It's getting cold, yes?
Yeah.
Stage 2 of money is called risk. And risk is the stock market. Most of us didn't end up in the stock market because we wanted to be risky with our money. We ended up in the stock market because we went to work with the company who gave us a 401k. They said, if you do 3%, we'll do 3%. And we got a free match. And by the way, if you can get free money, always take free money. That match is almost 100% the right thing to do. And what happened in 01 and 08, when we lost half, we went to HR. We said, what happened? They said, please don't shoot the messenger. Not their fault. And you know what? Even the stock market companies, it's not their fault either. They didn't know. Fidelity and Edward Jones, nobody knew the stock market was going to lose half of its value. But it happened. Right now people
You
are...
didn't see that movie about the Big Short.
The Big Short. That's a good movie. If anybody wants a good movie to watch, watch The Big Short. Yeah.
I was
Whew.
going to say, there was a couple people who...
Yeah, that's
took it
true.
on.
That's the class at 9:30. Only 5% of our clients go to the risk stage after you know that your protection stage is in place. Stage 3 is called distribution. Let's say it's your 65th birthday, you have $1 million saved up. You show up at our office and you say, I want all of my million, I'm moving to the equator to live in a leaf. Or Arizona. It's like 103 degrees in Arizona already. Here's the question. Yeah, it's hot there. Here's the question. When you get your $1 million, how much of it do you get versus does Uncle Sam let you get? Tax bracket. We hear things like 50-50, 80-20. Whenever I'm in Boulder, Colorado, there's always one guy in the back who says 70-10. Here's what we know. If you don't have distribution set up right, you're lucky to get 60 cents on the dollar. We have a program, it's called Tax-Free Indexed Account. And the way that Tax-Free Indexed Account works is this. Every dollar that goes inside of this account grows non-taxable. Do you remember the 1 doubles to 2, doubles to 4, doubles to 8? And then every dollar that comes out of this account comes out tax-free for any purpose at any age. We'd like to compare it to a 529 plan, because sometimes I get this question, can I do this as a college savings? Does everybody know what a 529 plan is? 529 is a savings plan that is only usable for an accredited college. What's great about a 529 is the money grows non-taxable and the money comes out tax-free. But if your son's like my son and he wants to be a YouTuber, no accredited college for that yet. Or if your daughter's like mine and she wants to go to Paris and be a cupcake chef, that's not an accredited college. So we can't use the money from the 529. But a tax-free indexed account we can. As a matter of fact, we can buy our first bike, we can buy our first car, we can use it for the year abroad, we can use it for her to start a business, or we can use it for college, or no business, no college, we could use it for her first house, or let it ride as a retirement savings. Well, much more flexible. One other difference. 529 plan, did you know that if you have $100,000 in this 529, it's visible as an asset? That means you got to tell the college or university when you do financial aid, I have $100,000. And what do they say?
No.
Yeah, no financial aid. But if you have a tax-free indexed account, when the IRS and the wealthy of our country built this account, they built it with this feature, not visible as an asset. That means this money is non-disclosable to the IRS or to the government. You don't have to talk about it. So now you can go and have $100,000 here, go apply for financial aid, get financial aid, and then use this $100,000. I know, I agree. Sometimes we can move a 529 into this tax-free indexed account, just a detail. One other really great thing about a tax-free indexed account, because the money comes out tax-free forever, here's a question. Does anybody know we have 20-something trillion dollars of debt in our country?
Yeah.
Does everybody understand that the government can only pay it off 2 ways? Spend less or tax us more. When you have money in a tax-free indexed account, it doesn't matter what happens to this tax rate because it's protected. You'll never pay tax on it again. So as a business owner or somebody who's wanting to put money aside or grow it, anybody familiar with a Roth IRA? A tax-free indexed account's like a Roth on steroids because it has no contribution limit, no age limit restriction, and you can take it out at any time. One of the most powerful financial instruments out there. That's the second thing you want to know for protecting the money you have. The third one, and this is the one I'll wrap this up with, is called living benefits. Living benefits' purpose is to protect our financial household. Let's say this is your income and this is your expenses and we go through life making money. Does everybody know that you're supposed to keep your income above expenses? That's the rule. You wouldn't think so. If you look at the way TV advertises to us and all the people, and I mean just student loan debt, right? You would think you were allowed to have this the other way. But you're supposed to keep income above expenses. So as we're going through life, do me a favor, everybody think of somebody they know that as they were going through life, they had a negative life event. And a negative life event would be like a heart attack. So think of somebody you know that maybe had a heart attack. Think of somebody who maybe had a stroke, second one, and think of somebody who had cancer. Those are the big three. Does everybody know somebody that's had one of the three?
Yeah.
I just want to point out that everybody nodded their head. I always get 100%. Everybody always knows somebody. Now think about them again. When that negative life event happened, for most people, their income went down. And for most people, their expenses went up. Where these two pieces cross, 62% of Americans end up in bankruptcy. And it's usually medical bill related, because health insurance paid the doctor, but it didn't pay the copay, and it didn't pay the mortgage, and it didn't replace your income to not work, and it didn't replace your spouse's income to take care of you, or the mortgage, or the school loans, or food on the table. So what did people do? They reached into their savings, they reached into their IRA, they reached into their business, they reached into their house. Then they sold their house. Then they called mom and dad, help! And then they moved in with mom and dad. And do you know that's why our parents keep moving to Florida? Because there's no basements for us to move into. right? Where kids keep moving to Arizona and California because there's no basements for our parents to move into. So here's what living benefits very simply does. When this negative life event happens, it gives you access to money so that this never happens. And I'm going to use life insurance as the example tonight. Does anybody in here have any life insurance? Can I ask you what it's for? What's its purpose? Okay. And so it's covering expenses, and who's it for? Is it for you?
Just
It's for you. Okay. And what do you have to do to get it? Die. Right? So it really should be called death insurance, right? Because you and I got to die to get it. And it's for our beneficiaries. It's usually not for me, it's for our family. Right? What life insurance's purpose is this. If something happens to me, I leave 10 years of my income to my wife. I pay off the house. I put $100,000 into an account for each of the kids to go to college. I pay off the debts, and then I put $50,000 in an account for my wife to bury me and take her new husband on an amazing vacation. That's funny if you know my wife, I'm her third husband. Or maybe that's not funny. She says it's funny. And everybody says to me, you should meet his wife. She thinks it's funny. Anyway, life insurance should be called death insurance. And here's what Living Benefits very simply does. Living Benefits looks at your term life insurance. And it pays you if you live through this life event. And it pays 3 ways. I'll give them to you really quick. The first way it pays is a terminal illness. 13 years ago, we had a young lady. She was a single mom. She had 2 little girls, no husband in the picture, no parents alive, and she was the Sherpa mom, and the homework mom, and this lunch mom. She got cancer. And for 2 years, they fought cancer. Her and her doctor, they tried everything. And at the end of the 2-year mark, nothing had worked. Doctor calls her in the office, says, this is the worst day of my life. I gotta tell you that you're terminal. She freaked out. She's like, no, I have 2 little girls. She said, what about this experimental treatment? And the doctor said, unfortunately, health insurance doesn't pay for experimental surgery. So she drives home, she calls her life insurance guy. Says, I need to make sure my affairs are in order. And he says, what's going on? She tells him the story. He says, stop. You have living benefits, life insurance. She goes, what's that? They submit a claim, and 10 days later she has a check for $100,000 from her term life insurance. She takes the $100,000 and she pays for the experimental surgery. Today, 13 years later, she's still alive. That should be called life insurance. The second way it pays is a critical illness. That's your heart attack, stroke, cancer, cognitive impairment, like you hit your head while you're doing yoga. And you're cuckoo, loku laka besa. Go blind, ALS, lose an organ, lose a limb. It triggers the critical illness, and you can get 75% of your term life insurance. In San Diego, we have a young lady. She's 54. 4 years ago, she bought Living Benefits life insurance. 9 months ago, she got cancer. And she went through her cancer, did all of the stuff. She has a mountain of debt, but she's alive. The doc says, you're going to make it. She calls us. We submit a claim. The company sends her a check for $320,000, which is 75% of her life insurance, because she lived through her cancer. Let me tell you, we are her favorite people in the world. Because when she bought her Living Benefits 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, she never thought she'd have cancer. But she lived through it, did all this natural stuff, she did chemo, and now she paid off all that debt. And what's really cool is she says, I don't have to go to work until I'm ready to go to work. She was able to focus on getting better. That's how critical pays. The third way is chronic illness, and that's if you can't do 2 of your 6 activities of daily living, like long-term care. Right? If say you fall off a roof and you're now in a wheelchair, you can't feed yourself, that's 2 of your 6. It triggers the chronic illness. It gives you 2% of this number every month. And in this example would be $7,000 a month for the next 50 months. It's designed to replace your income. So if you can't work, everything stays normal. It covers your lost income. It covers your bills. It covers everything so that you can just focus on recovery. The last way it pays is if you die. Here's what we know. We are 8 times more likely to have one of these 3 events before we have one of these events. We also know this. Only 1% of Americans today own living benefits life insurance. The other 99% of people in America that have life insurance, they have the old kind, the death-only kind, the one you gotta pass away to get the money. One of our crusades, one of our missions as a company is to let everybody know that living benefits life insurance exists. Remember, the number one reason that you got invited today is somebody felt that you deserved to learn what we teach. We do this workshop over 75 times a month across the United States, live, small conference rooms, big homes, HR departments, dinner workshops, breakfast. If you have somewhere, you know somewhere where we should come talk, please invite us. Part of our goal is, as an educational-based company, is to teach everybody that it exists. I invite you to come back. Bring your parents to protect your inheritance. Bring your kids to get them off the payroll. Maybe you know somebody who needs an indexed account. You hear them complain about their 401k or their IRA. Somebody at work who's worried. They say, oh my gosh, I never want to lose another penny again. Right? How many people know somebody at work who's a little uncomfortable that the stock market is so dang high? Right? And I don't know what's going to happen. You all know or think what might happen. Maybe you know somebody that needs a tax-free index account. Business owner, somebody that wants to never pay tax on their money again. We're ready for food if you guys are, just so you know. Maybe you know somebody who needs living benefits. And here's another way to think of it. Maybe you are somebody's living benefits. Maybe you're the person in your family, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, parent. If something happens to them, you're the one that gets the phone call and says, can I move in with you? Maybe you're the one that gets the phone call that says, can you help me pay these bills? Like I was. My mom had open heart surgery 2.5 years ago, and I was her living benefits because my mom didn't qualify for living benefits because of some past stuff. And thank goodness we had a family member who could fly in from South America, take care of my mom for 6 months while she recovered. Otherwise, it wouldn't have just messed up her financial household, it would have messed up my financial household as well. So I want to thank you for joining us for dinner tonight. Dinner's going to be in here in just a minute. I'll stick around and answer some questions. Our owner, Mike, the guy that founded our company 33 years ago, who decided he liked teaching people how to refinance their finances, he says it like this. If you want to change something in your life, you probably are going to have to change something in your life. So I want to thank you for joining us. The number one reason that people end up at our class is somebody like yourself invited them. We don't put this out there in any public forum, so the only way that people get back here is they invite you. So we invite you to invite somebody back if you'd like. Rita has a green piece of paper. One of the things we like is feedback. Feel free to tell us what you liked, what jokes were funny, what worked, if you have any good ones, like the one that I got earlier. And also, we do this class once a week by video. You're never going to believe this, but did you know that people live out of this state? And you know some of those people. And the biggest request we got over the last 5 years is, hey, my brother, uncle, sister, cousin lives in Maine. How do I get the class to them? So we started doing this class once a week by video. It's always live. It's only by personal invitation. But on the feedback form, if you would like an invitation to our either next in-person class or our next video class, just put a, is there a V on that form? No. Put a V, which stands for video, circle it, and we'll know to email you back an invitation, so you can do that. And is Mike here next month? Or
No,
in 2 months?
12th. June 12th.
June 12th. Our owner, Mike Wilk, our CEO, one of the coolest things about Mike is he's the hardest working company owner, CEO I've ever met. 6 years ago I said, I can keep up with you, and on the Santa Redondo Beach Pier I took my shoe off and stuck it in my mouth because he travels around the country more than any of us teaching this class for our groups and workshops. So he'll be back here June 12th. Just a fun thing if you want to come back, he'll buy you dinner. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'll stick around, walk around, answer any questions.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.